Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at what's happening with this country, and frankly, it's very sad. I see what's happening left and right, how we're being abused by other nations, and I don't like it. I don't like what's happening with jobs. I am seriously thinking about it. Well, I don't think there has been a response, frankly. I mean, I look at what's going on in the Middle East. It's an explosion, and I don't think, has there been a response? I don't think so. I mean, frankly, the Middle East is a tinderbox. It's going to explode. OPEC will probably be destroyed if it explodes, and oil prices could go the other way. You know, I'm a student at the Wharton School of Finance. I did very well. I understand economics. And you'll break up this, really what would normally be an illegal monopoly of OPEC, and break it up very strongly. So when I look at the Middle East, it's a tinderbox, it's exploding, and I'm saying that could have a positive impact on oil prices as opposed to, you know, I mean, if you look at oil right now, it's going to be soon $100 a barrel. Far too high. It's set by OPEC. I think OPEC would explode with the Middle East, and that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Well, I think it's unfair. I think it should be illegal. You know, if you have a store and I have a store and we collude and set prices, we go to jail. Here you have 12 men, in this case, all men. They sit around a table, they go out, and they set the price of oil. We have so much oil. There's so much oil out at sea. Ships are loaded up with oil. They don't know where to dump it. Ships are loaded up with oil. They don't know where to dump it. And the prices are going. I just passed coming over to the studio, which is a beautiful studio, by the way.
Thank you.
But coming over to the studio, I see $3.50 for a gallon of oil, gallon of gas for the cars. I mean, cars are lined up trying to get it, and it's $3.50. It's a shame. It's a ridiculous shame. And it's $3.50. It's a shame. It's a ridiculous shame. I have a friend who's a very smart guy. He said when oil goes above $40 to $50 a barrel, if it goes above $40 to $50, this country is in serious, serious trouble. Plus, we don't use our natural gas. We have more natural gas than anybody. Why we're not using it is like an amazing thing. We have more natural gas than anybody. Why we're not using it is like an amazing thing. Abu Dhabi, very interestingly, Abu Dhabi, which has plenty of oil, they just went to all natural gas for transportation. You know why? Because they want to sell us the oil at exorbitant prices. Because they want to sell us the oil at exorbitant prices. Because they want to sell us the oil at exorbitant prices. So when you tell me about Obama and what he's doing in the Middle East, I don't think he's doing anything in the Middle East. Well, I'm a big buyer of products, and I'm also, unfortunately, a big buyer of Chinese products. And it's very hard to buy, if you're buying glass and various other things, it's very hard not to buy Chinese products, including sheetrock, which has destroyed many a development and many a life. And I will say this before I go any further. We make better products than China. Our products are better. The problem is they manipulate their currency so badly that it's almost impossible for a person like me to buy outside. You go out, I want to buy an American product. The Chinese products come in, they're cheaper. They're not as good, they're cheaper. And it's not because of workers or anything else. It's because of a manipulation of the currency. The other thing, if you try and do business in China, it's almost impossible. It's very, very hard to do business. Look what happened with General Electric recently. They want all the technology. They want you to build your plants in China. We have a very weak policy, whether it's China, by the way, or the horrible agreement just signed with South Korea, or so many other horrible deals that we make. We don't have the ability to make good deals with other countries. We're like a whipping post for other countries. We are standing there and just being beaten by South Korea, by Mexico, by China, by India. If you have a problem with your credit card, you call somebody up. That person is based in India. And then they wonder why we're not going to have jobs for another 5 or 6 years. And then they wonder why we're not going to have jobs for another 5 or 6 years. And then they wonder why we're not going to have jobs for another 5 or 6 years. You know, Ben Bernanke just said recently, it's going to be at least 5 years before our jobs really come back. And I say, why? All our jobs are going to China. We're rebuilding China and other places. So unless we get tough and unless we get smart and unless we stop having dinners for people that are destroying us, like when the president of China came 2 weeks ago to this country and we gave him a great state dinner, we're going to have big problems. Well, there are many things. I mean, number one, we have to do something about OPEC because that's the lifeblood of a country. Right now, until we get on natural gas and other things, they really have us. And they're sitting around and inflating the price. And, you know, when we had our problem not so long ago, a few years ago, if you noticed, oil was almost $150 a barrel. Now, they're blaming the banks, and the banks were terrible. They were terrible. And lots of other things were terrible. But I give a lot of the credit for the almost collapse of this country to the price of oil. It's going to be up there very soon again. And you're going to have another catastrophic problem. It's the lifeblood of this country. And we have these 12 people sitting around. And by the way, anytime a country comes up with oil, they invite them in. Join OPEC, join OPEC. You know, the United States is stupid. You know, the United States is stupid. You know, the United States is stupid. The people that are representing the United States are really stupid. So join us and we'll, take advantage of the United States. We'll sell them oil at totally inflated prices. Take advantage of the United States. We'll sell them oil at totally inflated prices. And they're draining our lifeblood. We cannot allow that to continue. Now, people say, well, what power do we have in OPEC? They wouldn't even exist if it weren't for us. Well, I think it could go with proper leadership down to $40 a barrel. I think if we continue the way it is, it's going to go up to $150 a barrel.
Okay.
Nobody talks to OPEC. Mm-hmm. Nobody says, hey, fellas, guess what? Times have changed. You're going to toe the line or you're going to have big problems. Nobody says that. They don't even call them. So these people have a free rein. We're a target. And they have a free rein on the United States. And it's going to really destroy this country. And it's going to really destroy this country. Well, look, it's words. When I looked at his State of the Union speech, I watched it very carefully. In fact, I commented on Fox right after the speech with Neil Cavuto, who's a great guy. And we had a long talk, and he said, what do you think? I said, it's just rhetoric. It's words. It's all words. Sputnik and this and that. And it was long. He ought to spend more time in his office on the telephone talking to the folks at OPEC saying, you better get those oil prices down or you're going to be paying a big price. And they can do it. And by the way, with China, if we ever taxed Chinese products coming into this country, we would pay off their debt so fast, but would do something much more importantly. We would start creating jobs in our country because we'd equalize the imbalance that they've done by manipulating their currency. And the same way they cheated in the Olympics with their Olympic gymnasts and other things, they're cheating us with the manipulation of the currency. They are not our friends. They are not our friends. I know them very well. I do business with them. I sold an apartment just a little while ago for $33 million to a Chinese gentleman. And I have a lot of friends in China, and I don't even blame them. I'm not angry at them. I just can't believe they can get away with it. And my friends from China said to me just recently, now they didn't know that I may be thinking about running for president, but they said just recently, we cannot believe how stupid your politicians are to allow us to get away with what we're getting away. Now, they thought they were talking to me as a business guy, and they're all laughing and smiling. We are a laughingstock throughout the world. We are a laughingstock throughout the world. We are a laughingstock throughout the world. If oil prices are allowed to inflate and keep inflating, if the dollar keeps going down in value, which is not good because you're going to pay $25 for a loaf of bread pretty soon. If you look at what's happening with our food prices, they're going through the roof. I mean, we could end up being another Egypt. You know, you could have riots in our streets also. You know, you could have riots in our streets also. So if he thinks things are going to get worse by the way he phrased that, or by the way you phrased it, I think there's a very distinct possibility that things will get worse, yes. I think the biggest threat is the fact that our jobs are being stolen by other countries. I don't think inflation's a bigger threat. I think that the fact is we're not going to have any jobs here pretty soon. You know, somebody that I know very well is buying an airplane, and the airplane's being made in Brazil. Think of it, Brazil. Think of it, Brazil. Think of it, Brazil. And the reason they're buying it is because they're getting a big tax credit. Now, the plane's going to cost $3 million. He's getting a $1.2 million tax credit in the United States. So he's buying a plane in Brazil, made in Brazil with Brazilian workers, because he's getting a tax credit in the United States. That's just one of hundreds of things. Is it insane? Is it insane? I love the country. I hate what's happening to the country. In 12 years, China will take over as the world's great leading economic power, if not sooner. And the way we're going, this country will not be a great country as it was anymore. And that's very, very sad to me. So many bad things are happening. Recently I read, and this is a little thing, but it's really just emblematic of what's going on. $52 million of cash, a suitcase was given by somebody, nobody knows who, I guess a colonel or a general, I want to know who these people are, was given to Afghanistan to be paid off to various places in Afghanistan. Now this is cash. This isn't we're writing a check. The money turned out to go to Dubai, which is Middle Eastern but having lots of problems. Dubai's having a lot of problems. So the 52 million in cash, which might have been 100 million before everybody was stealing it, ends up in Dubai, but it was meant for Afghanistan. And I'm trying to figure, who is the colonel or the person, maybe it's a general, that signs to okay 52 million in a suitcase to be brought over? I want to get to know this guy because I could have a lot of fun with him. And I want to know, how rich is that colonel? You know, I have things where they're cash businesses, and I hire accountants to watch that people don't steal. And then I hire other accountants to watch them, that my accountants don't get paid off by the people that are stealing. And with all of that, they still try and steal. Now, who's the man that approves $52 million in cash in a suitcase? You tell me. There's so much money, there's so much waste going on in this country, and it's destroying the country, and it's destroying the country, and it's destroying the country. I hate what's happening to this country. I hate seeing this country ripped off by every other smart nation. I say smart nation. China, India, Mexico. You look at what's going on, the jobs that are pouring into Mexico. And we give them incentive to move people out of Iowa. Newton, Iowa got destroyed by Mexico. They took the plant, they had incentives from this government, and they built the plant in Mexico. And it wiped out a town called Newton, Iowa. So it's very sad. And it's not hard. It's not that hard. It's common sense. It's business. It's common sense. The money that the federal government has is all fleeing. It's being taken away. Between fighting wars and being the policeman for countries that, in all fairness, we shouldn't have been in the first place. And just so you understand, I'm a very conservative person, and I am the world's greatest hawk. I am a hawk. I'm a very militant person. I'm a big believer in the military. But we should be rebuilding our own country. We go to Afghanistan, we build a road, we build a highway, we build a school at the end of the highway. The school gets blown up, the road gets blown up, and we start it all over again. Why are we building roads in Alabama? Why are we building roads in New Jersey, coming into Manhattan? You come into Manhattan on roads that look like we're a third world country. Why aren't we building our own nation? We're building things and they're blowing them up. And it's never going to change. It's never going to change. You think they're going to have democracy? I don't think so. Iraq is a perfect example. As soon as we leave, Iran, you know, for many, many years, hundreds of years, it was back and forth between those two countries, or whatever you want to call them. Now, we're going to leave, and we've totally defanged Iraq. Iran will come in and take over the oil. As sure as you're sitting there, Iran will come in and take over the oil of Iraq. Now, you tell me, what have we done? And frankly, I think if somebody's going to take over the oil in Iraq, maybe it should be us. Well, I have two ways. Number one, we should be out of there as soon as possible. At the same time, when Obama announced that he's going to be out now at a certain date, these militants are just sitting back saying, hey, wait a minute, he gave us a specific date. This is fantastic. We'll just sit back for a little while, then we'll take it over the minute they leave. So for him to give a date of withdrawal was a very, very dangerous, foolish, and stupid thing to do. But the fact is that I would like to rebuild the United States. We need rebuilding. I go to Abu Dhabi. I go to Qatar. I go to countries in the Middle East and other places. You go to China. They have airports that are so unbelievable. What they're building is unbelievable with our money, whether it's money we pay for oil or money we pay for products like in China. China's rebuilding itself. We are rebuilding China. And then you come into LaGuardia Airport. It's like a third world country. You come into Kennedy Airport, Kennedy International Airport. It's obsolete. It's a third world airport. And we have to rebuild ourselves. One thing, we would have no lack of projects. You do airports, you do roadway, you do mass transit, you do a lot of things. You do a lot of things. I mean, we're spending so much money. We've spent 1.2 trillion. Now that's what they report. 1.2 trillion in Iraq. And yet we can't fix New Orleans. And we can't fix Camden, New Jersey. And we can't fix our own cities. Good news, get a good price. Bad news, the banks aren't there. The banks have really let us down. They, number one, really did some bad things and caused some bad problems. Number two, if you have something that you want to buy, like a house, they're generally not there for you. So somebody has to get these banks moving. They have not treated the country properly. They have not treated the country properly. Well, they have to open up the banks. I mean, the banks have been given billions and billions of dollars of subsidy, and yet if you want to go out and buy a house, you go to a bank, you can have good credit ratings, they're going to loan you very little money, if any at all. And that's one of the reasons that the housing market collapsed, is the fact that the banks aren't giving you any money. So if somebody who's worked hard and built up some nice equity wants to go out and buy a house, you can't buy it because of the fact that the banks aren't loaning you money. So with all of the money the banks have taken in, they sit back, they keep their cash, they invest their cash in other things. I'm not even saying that's wrong, but they have to invest their money also in people wanting to put money into houses. Otherwise, you're not going to solve this housing problem for a long time. I'm a free market person. I don't believe it was wise. I think it helped temporarily for a little period of time, but now that easing is over, and now you're going to see some bad numbers start to come out, and you're already seeing that today. People are saying, wait a minute, the numbers aren't as good. You know, they're putting hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy, and the economy still is not very good. The real jobless rate, if you look at the real rate, it's 17% to 18%. It's 17% to 18%. And maybe even, depending on the way you want to calculate it, substantially higher than that, not 9.4%. But what's happening is they put a lot of money out, trillions of dollars. I mean, just if you look at the amount of money that they've put out over the last 3 or 4 years, it's unbelievable. Now, in some cases, they're going to get their money back. In other cases, they're not. But to do what they've been doing recently is absolute insanity, because what it's doing is really killing the dollar. You know, it's a problem. They're small. Let Germany handle it. Germany's a very strong, powerful nation because of, a little bit because of us. I mean, we buy lots of Mercedes-Benzes and lots of other German cars. We do very nicely. Germany does very nicely with us. But it's really a problem, in my opinion. Let Germany handle that one. We can't be taking care of the world. Greece has a problem, too bad. Somebody else has a problem, too bad. That's a Euro problem. They compete against Boeing, they have Airbus. Let Germany solve the problem. Germany is a very powerful, very rich nation. Let Germany, we wish them a lot of luck. I think gold will go up as long as people don't have confidence in our president and our country. And they don't have confidence in our president. You look at what's happened with health care. I have friends that want to close down their business over this new health care, or as we call it, Obamacare. So if you look at what's going on with costs and with health care and with lots of other things, gold is going to go up because they don't have confidence in the president and they don't have confidence in the country. They don't have confidence in our negotiators. They have confidence in other countries. They have everyone wants to go and invest in China. I have friends, they're very smart people, they have money. They want to go to China and invest their money. I will say this, I'm not saying I'm running, but there's a very good chance that I will. But if I run, people are going to want to invest in this country. You can do better, and you can do maybe a lot better. And instead of hiring diplomats and putting diplomats to negotiate with the red Chinese, because essentially we're dealing with people that truly are not only smart, these are great natural negotiators that are not our friends. They're looking to strip us of everything they can strip of. That are not our friends. They're looking to strip us of everything they can strip of. I would say go out and get the great business leaders that we have. We have great business people, great minds, tough, smart, brilliant. Use those people to negotiate with these countries. Don't use a diplomat whose training is to be a nice person. You know, a diplomat gets the word diplomat. They're trained to be nice people. I don't want nice people. I want people that are going to bring this country back. This country is in serious trouble. It's not going to be a great country for long. It may not be a great country now, but this country has to be brought back. Go out and get the toughest, smartest guys, because that's what you need if you're going to beat China and other countries.